For those who don't understand or know anything about the Cultural Revolution, which I believe was from around 66 to 76, just
yes.
walk us through what was happening in China at that time when you were a little girl.
Yes, but first though, thank you so much to invite me to your show. I love your show. I watch it, listen to it every day.
Oh, thank you. Oh, so the pleasure's all ours.
Yeah. Yes, this is very, very important for Americans to know. This piece of history is so relevant to America today. What happened in China in 1966 is a cultural revolution that Mao launched. It is the revolution to unseat, take down the CCP, take down the government. And by who? By Mao. Mao wanted to take it down because he felt like he was losing control. He was losing control of his own party and the government. He is losing control of the absolute power. So he launched the revolution to really get the power back. That is the real story. But by who and how? This time, he did not use the military. This time, he used the kids, the indoctrinated youth from elementary school all the way up to universities. They are the Red Guards. And he used them to take down the people that he felt like was no longer loyal to him. That's pretty much the whole bureaucracy of the CCP. And they also want to destroy the entire Chinese civilization and what he called the four olds: old culture, old ideas, old habits, and old custom. That is everything that in the past, destroy the past. Just like Kamala said, imagine what can be unburdened by what has been. So they destroyed the statues, they renamed streets and roads and institutions, and including their own names to be politically correct. They burned books, and they eventually turned on to the perceived enemies, and started with their teachers and the principals.
And the language control, as I understand it, was important.
Absolutely.
To getting control over the society.
Absolutely. And it's not just language control, it's thought control. Growing up in China, and I was so thoroughly indoctrinated, I could not think any other way. I had no idea there's such a thing as critical thinking. I just get fed with the propaganda and I just follow the orders. And that is really what I see here in America.
So how did your life start to change once, this period dawned on China while you're in the midst of this? Were you policed in your language when you went to school? Like what was changing in your life under this time?
During the Cultural Revolution, I just followed the order. And actually, I was only 7 when the Cultural Revolution started, and the school stopped and closed because there's no one running the school, because the kids ousted all the principals and the school administrators. So I had no school for 2 years. In some areas, it lasted as long as 4 years. So there's absolutely, we're just free to go out and watch the whole Cultural Revolution unfolding. And I saw struggle sessions. I saw the Red Guards not only taking down statues in public spaces, they went to people's homes and took out all those four olds hidden in people's homes and destroyed them. And I saw the teachers being attacked, principal being attacked. It was really a world turned upside down.
The Red Guards killed people, including
they killed
children. Yeah. And so what would lead to a Red Guard death sentence?
Okay, so the Red Guards were the ones that Mao used to launch the revolution, and it lasted about up to 3 years. By then, all the people in power was taken down by them. Everything was destroyed. And then they become a problem. And what do you think that Mao would do to them? Instead of giving them a seat at the table, he expelled them to the countryside for hard labor, for the so-called re-education. And since then, all the young people from cities were sent to the countryside. When I graduated from high school at the age of 16, me too, was sent to the countryside to work in the field to get my so-called re-education that lasted for 3 years until Mao's death. And his successor, Deng Xiaoping, finally decided to stop all this chaos and reopen university. And at the age of 19, I was able to go to college. And in 1986, I was able to come to America for my graduate study.
Wow. And that was the beginning of everything for you. Now you're an American citizen. And I understand you just cast your vote in this election.
Yes, I just did. To me, it was such a moment. I really was, shaking hand, and my hands were shaking. And I just feel like this election really, really will determine the survival of our republic. People here, especially young people, they have no idea. They never live the day without freedom. They have no idea what it is like to lose freedom. So not just lose your the right to speak, they will indoctrinate everyone so no one could even think freely. And that is the kind of slavery of communism that so few Americans really understand.
Mm-hmm. This is why you voted for Donald Trump. You're going to be campaigning with Donald Trump tomorrow in Georgia.
Yes.
And you've been living by these principles for a long, long time. You spoke up loudly, forcefully in Loudoun County, Virginia, which has been ground zero for a lot of these fights. Right after the death of George Floyd, when we all, not we, but many people in the country were losing their minds and allowing this so-called critical race theory to infect everything. Unfortunately, it's still everywhere and it needs to be extracted like a cancer. But you spoke up at one of the school board meetings. We have a little bit of that. This thing made you a star. Let's watch.
Growing up in Mao's China, all this seemed very familiar. The communist regime used the same critical theory to divide people. The only difference is they use class instead of race. During the Cultural Revolution, I witnessed students and teachers turn against each other. We changed school names to be politically correct. We were taught to denounce our heritage. The Red Guards destroy anything that is not communist, old statues, books, and anything else. We are also encouraged to report on each other, just like the Student Equity Ambassador Program and the bias reporting system. This is indeed the American version of the Chinese Cultural Revolution. The critical race theory has its roots in cultural Marxism. It should have no place in our schools.
Amazing. And that, you've been there. And it's actually, if you speak to people from certain Eastern European countries, they have exactly the same view you do. When you've had all these rights restricted or really removed from your life, in your case as a little girl, without even knowing what it would be like to have them, you see this indoctrination very differently, critical race theory among them.
Absolutely. I think it is simply because I've been there, I lived through it, and I can see it. And the reason that the American people, so many of them, even today, they don't recognize it. Why? It's because they don't know. They don't know the history. They were never taught the history of communism and the history of Chinese communism and the history of the Chinese Cultural Revolution. And that's why they could not recognize. And that is by design. And that's why they took our universities and then our schools, because by controlling the educational system, they could really get rid of the past, get rid of the inconvenient history, and indoctrinate the kids.
4 years of crushing interest rates, runaway inflation, and reckless government spending. And who is paying the price? You. You might have bills stacking up, debt collectors on your back. You might be barely able to keep food on the table. Done with Debt can be a way out. They have developed new aggressive strategies designed to get you out of debt permanently without bankruptcy or loans. Done with Debt stands between you and your bill collectors. They can go head to head with these guys, getting your balances reduced, interest rates slashed, and penalties stopped. They create a plan to end your debt fast and put more cash in your pocket every month. And right now, Done with Debt is accepting new clients, but you do need to act fast. Some credit relief programs expire. Before you even make another payment, consider a visit to donewithdebt.com or call 1-888-322-1054 right now. 1-888-322-1054. Speak with one of their debt relief strategists for free by going to donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.